Good morning, everybody. I am Alex Clays, joined by Andrew Ortberg and Jared Smith. This is Let's Bet It on a Sunday morning. We are getting ready for week 13. Week 13, right? Week
Yes,
13 of the
lucky
NFL.
13.
Yeah, lucky 13. Got a lot of great games to get in today, a lot of games that we are all very excited for. But before we get into the games, I want to remind everybody that, of course, you can subscribe to the Pickswise YouTube channel and make sure to let us know in the comments what you think about our picks, what games you are on, and if you have any questions or anything you want to just talk about. We're going to be checking the chat, and this is going to be a free-flowing conversation this morning. And make sure you download the Pickswise app, available on the App Store and in Google Play. Today, we're going to get into NFL games. Of course, we're going to be conversation having. Let me try that again. We're going to be conversing with people in the chat, and then we're going to finish things off with our play of the day. So, without further ado, let's bet it. And guys, before we start, before we get into Sunday, we got to talk about Saturday, right? We got to just. I mean, what a crazy day of college football. Jared, I know you were hoping for chaos. Let's just throw this out here. If we're talking about four playoff teams, how do you rank these four teams right now? How do you see things spacing out with the committee?
I would put Bama in the top spot. You beat the number one team. You beat them handily. I think the SEC, say what you want about the bias, but I mean, they're going to have two teams in the playoffs, so I certainly think they're the best conference in America. And Alabama beat the best team handily. So I would put Bama 1. I would keep Michigan 2. And just for now, me personally, I'm okay with having an all-SEC championship game. I know there's going to be a lot of people out there that aren't. So I would put Georgia in the 3 spot, setting up a potential rematch in the CFP final. And then I'd put Cincinnati 4. That's what FanDuel thinks, because we've already seen look-ahead lines posted for those games. Alabama opened as a 16-point favorite against Cincinnati, dropped to 14.5. Georgia opened as a 9-point favorite against Michigan, dropped to 8.5. So we're seeing a little bit of action come in on the dogs there early. But that's how I would have it: Alabama, Michigan, Georgia, and Cincinnati.
Andrew, what are you thinking? I think I'm with Jared. I think we got Bama, Michigan, Georgia, Cincy. I think that's the 4 we're going to see in that order.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds right to me. Like Jared said, if that's what the books already set on the lines for, I'd say it's a pretty good inclination that it's going to go that way.
Yes, agreed.
Jared, you got some folks in the chat. I tip my Kirby Smart Visor to you, Jared. Heck of a Bama pick.
Thank you.
Pretty sure someone needs to purchase.
Can we talk?
Pretty sure someone needs to purchase some elephant ears.
Somebody remember that? Somebody remember that? Hell yeah!
Bob Brothers, man. He's pretty lit up for the last night of Hanukkah too. Happy Hanukkah, everybody! I had some latkes for lunch yesterday. Delicious. Also, Mega O, the best nickname we've got on Pickswise, dude.
Because last time I was on the show, Jim Mona said that. Then we hit the NFL Week 11 Mega Parlay at 18-1. Go check it out on the site. I think today it's plus 1255. It's not quite as juicy as it was last time.
That.
But
Definitely
yeah,
still pretty juicy. Still pretty
juicy to me.
Let's get into these NFL games because we got a lot of really short lines here. But we're gonna start with the Vikings Lions. This is not a short line. Lions home dogs getting 7.5 points, depending on where you're looking. Total 46.5. With no Dalvin Cook and a long week, are the Lions being overlooked in this spot, you think? You're going to take the points? Anyone going to take the points with the Lions?
Not me, AO. I don't have much on this game, AO. What do you think?
I mean, yeah, I think I like the Vikings as a teaser leg if there's something else that you could pair them with. I did previously, before the Hurts news, and when the Eagles line was still 7, I kind of like the Eagles with the Vikings. Now with it at 5, I don't know if that's a great teaser leg with the Eagles, but I think the Vikings are a great teaser leg if there's something else out there that you like, because everyone's talking. Yes, the Lions have been great at covering the number recently. Obviously, still haven't won a game. But when these teams played early in the season, everyone's talking about how the Vikings only beat them 19-17, last second field goal, this, that, and the other. I mean, that game was not as close as it looked. The Vikings were up 10 with the ball with 3 minutes left, and some in Lions territory.
And a turnover.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they missed the field goal.
It was Madison, right? No, wasn't there a late turnover in that game that really?
There was, but when they were up 10, they were going to kick a field goal, go up 13, missed it. Vikings did all up. That game never should have been in doubt.
Agreed.
And so I think that people are remembering that one a little differently. And I don't see Detroit winning this game. The Vikings are a perfect team to put on the teaser because you never want to count on the Vikings to put somebody away. That's not what they do. But they win a lot of close games, so I think they make a lot of sense naturally going from 7 through to 3, blah, 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 et cetera, to 1.
I like adding them in the teaser, because
Yeah,
you're not going to
too.
catch me laying 7 points with Kirk Cousins ever.
No.
That's not something I could do.
If it gets to 7.5, I'll tease it. I'm seeing 7s in most spots now. Actually, FanDuel's at 7, DraftKings is at 7, MGM's at 7. Here's what scares me about this game for if you do want to take the points with Detroit. Minnesota's off of a loss, and that secondary has not that Lions secondary hasn't been tested much lately. They were not tested last Thursday against the Bears. The Bears did not push the tempo at all. They are going to be tested in this game.
100%.
I don't think they can hold up against Jefferson and Thielen. I just don't.
Yeah, I mean, Lions' last 3 games, everyone's talking about Lions' defense has been fighting hard, playing hard. That's great. Their last 3 games are against the Bears, Browns, and Steelers. I mean, 3 offenses that are struggling mightily at the moment.
And the Browns got off to a hot start in that game, too. And it was like the one DeAndre Swift run, and Cleveland just went in the shell. Like, Detroit's kind of fortunate to have covered those last 3 games, to be perfectly honest with you. Because they
the Steelers game was in weather, you know.
Mason Rudolph,
And Mason Rudolph in weather.
I think Detroit's due for a stinker at some point. This could be the day.
All right. I mean, the last time they played a team with a pulse was when they played the Eagles. They lost 44-6. So.
Yeah. Speaking of the Eagles, which you brought up earlier, AO as a potential teaser for you before the Jalen Hurts news, playing at the Jets today. 5.5-point favorites. Philly is now after that Hurts news. We're not sure if he's going to be able to go. He's going to try. But if he's unable to go, we are going to be getting some Minshew mania today. The total at 43.5 right now. I was actually thinking of putting them in a teaser as well, but because of this Jalen Hurts uncertainty and 5.5, I'm not really loving that right now. So it's probably a stay away from me. But when we're looking at the Jets, this is the second game back, I believe, for Zach Wilson. Do you see this as a potential spot for him to bounce back and put something together against this? I mean, the Eagles' defense has been pretty good.
I'm a little sad. I'm biased here because obviously I want Zach to play well. But I'll be honest, too. I'm okay with the Jets losing every game the rest of the year. So I think Minshew will probably play better than we think because the line really didn't move that much in favor of the Jets after Minshew. So I would say Minshew's probably game enough to beat this Jets team, but I wouldn't lay points with him.
Yeah, I would echo that for sure. I mean, I'm not sure if certainly not betting the Jets because I'm not sure Jalen Hurts is worth this much to the line. I mean, going from 7 to 5 is still like a pretty significant move for someone who can barely throw the ball when they're fully healthy, like we saw this past week against the Giants. So I'm not sure but about emphasis on I'm not sure because who the hell knows what Minshew is going to look like in the completely
massive
new offense.
Wild card. So very much like Taysom Hill. Could be upside, but could be huge downside.
Yeah, on paper, I think the Eagles' run game should still maul the Jets, but perhaps the run game takes a bit of a hit when you don't have to account for the quarterback having as much legs. So we haven't seen what this new look Eagles ground game looks like without Hurts yet. So it's a little bit of.
I was gonna say, are you counting on Nick Sirianni to run the ball? I mean, that's not.
I don't want to count on either of these coaches, frankly. I mean, this is. Yeah. I think this is a good because of the uncertainty. When you have this much uncertainty, not only the Jets because they're very volatile, they're the Jets, but also the Eagles have been a volatile team this year, and you're adding the volatility of a backup quarterback that we have not seen play in goodness knows how long. Yeah. I think this is a stay away game for me.
We've got Jeff in the chat, Jets money line. So he's just going to stand in front of the train and just
good luck,
roll with it. Good luck to Jeff out there. This is a game I actually am going to be on today. Chargers at Bengals. Chargers getting 3 points on the road. Total 49.5. I think this is more of a fade on the Chargers for me, which is kind of crazy considering how hot they started at the beginning of the season. But the Bengals are just on fire right now. They're really putting teams away here, and the Chargers are just really inconsistent. I'm not really liking what I'm seeing from Justin Herbert in that offense. I think there's maybe a lot of tape out on him now. Maybe teams have figured out the Chargers a little bit. But the big thing for me in this game and why I'm going to lay the 3 points is because of Joe Mixon. The Bengals are really running the ball, and where the Chargers really struggle on the defensive side is stopping the run. I mean, Joe Mixon had 165 yards last week and 2 touchdowns, and then 123 yards and 2 touchdowns the week before that. So he's rolling. averaging 4.4 yards per carry this season. I think this is a spot where he can have another really big game. And I like the Chargers, or I like the Bengals, I should say, to put away the Chargers.
I agree. I mean, I think this game's all about if the Chargers can't stop the run, and they haven't stopped the run in weeks. And I think the question is, why are the Chargers having such issues with the run? Brandon Staley's supposed to be this defensive guru, but they got gashed by the Broncos last week. They got destroyed in the second half by the Steelers. I know that game was a little fluky with the special teams and stuff, but, Pittsburgh still moved it up and down the field. And we've seen Pittsburgh really struggle to move the ball in other games recently. So that was the issue for me. Now, the line analysis says the Chargers are the sharper side in a sense because a lot of people are on Cincy. But when I checked the splits this morning, not as many people were on Cincy as I expected at some of the major shops. So maybe this is more of a split action game than I originally gave some of the books credit for. So maybe I'm not as sour on the line analysis, but if I only have to lay 3 with a team that's going to slam it down your throat and against a team that can't stop the run, there's really only one way I can bet this. And that's the.
Hey, we got a question in the chat. Chargers have killed me on the road. Bengals really getting it done at home against Herbert. What do you think?
I mean, I don't have anything on this game personally. I will say to that person that the Chargers may be killing you on the road, perhaps recently. The past couple of years, Chargers have been excellent on the road. It's been very stark. Like, I think they have some of the starkest home road splits, but in reverse. Like, the Chargers have been amazing at covering numbers on the road. Horrible covering numbers at home.
Home field advantage, like negative home field advantage.
Yeah, this game's tough. Like you said, Jared, I mean, the Chargers can't stop the run. It's like Brandon Staley, he wants to run this, his patented too high system, dare you to run the ball. But if you're going to do something like that, you need somebody like Aaron Donald that he had last year with the Rams who can really eat up double. If you're going to play light in the box, you need a really dominant interior presence, which the Chargers don't really have. So yeah, so on the one hand, so that's why I'm not betting the Chargers. The reason I'm not betting the Bengals though is I think their last couple of weeks have been a little fraudulent. It's like the Steelers, Big Ben couldn't stop giving them the ball back, spotted them a couple, and the week before that against the Raiders, the Bengals offense actually wasn't very efficient. I think Joe Burrow had like 130 yards in that game. That was like a weird game too. It was like the Bengals were like less than 5 yards per play. So that's why I'm not betting the Bengals. And not betting the Chargers either. I think you could make a case for both sides. That's why I'm staying off.
It's right it's right at 3. So obviously it's not a game that the books feel strongly about because we haven't seen any line movement to either direction really. So
it touched 3.5. I feel like for a tiny bit.
Very early in the week.
Yeah,
and it didn't last long, and since then I haven't even seen like the odds move really. Like it's really been almost like painted. 3 on.
Yeah, I didn't even see 3.5. I just saw 3. But,
what is the total now? What is the total now?
Total right now.
Yeah,
it's up
it
to
was 50 and a half.
Up to 50. It opened 48. I'm seeing 50 painted across the board. Win bets hanging a 49.5. What's the weather in Cincinnati? Can we get a? I think
it's good. I think I checked the weather. It's going to be clear, like 9 miles.
So no
winds,
precipitation.
No precipitation.
That favors the Chargers. That favors the over, obviously. But originally there was going to be a little weather in this game, which would have definitely favored the Bengals running game. But now that there's not,
just kind of
no issue there.
All right, let's move on. We got Cardinals at Bears. Cardinals 7.5 point favorites. Total 42.5. Maybe we'll see Kyler Murray. But question for you guys: if Kyler is able to go, is there any concern for you of maybe a little bit of rust? It's been a while since he's been out there. And he was dealing with, that was an ankle, right? That was an ankle that he was dealing with. So that's a tricky injury to deal with, especially when you're someone like Kyler Murray who wants to run around and get things done with your legs as well.
Big issue for the Bears is that all their best defenders are out. Hicks, I heard not Roquan Smith. I forget his name's drawn. I'm drawing a blank on his name. Hold on, I'll pull up the depth chart right now.
Also, DeAndre Hopkins could be back as well.
I think Hopkins is going to be.
Kyler and D-Hop are playing. They're playing.
No, I was right. It is Roquan Smith. Roquan Smith is questionable. Oh, Robert Quinn. That was the other one. He was banged up a little bit in practice this week. Hicks is out.
That's a big loss. That's a big loss.
Yeah, Hicks is out. Mack obviously on IR. So the defensive side for Chicago is going to be interesting. And also on the Arizona defensive side, Arizona is a top 5 DVOA team. So I trust Arizona's defense to put Andy Dalton in his place. And that's kind of where my angle would be on this game. Yes, I would definitely be concerned with some rust for Murray and Hopkins, but Arizona's defense, I think, will make that a moot point. And I would say Arizona in a teaser leg is a good teaser leg this week through 3-7.
Hop, I'm more concerned because it's a hamstring. That's a little.
Yeah.
I mean, that's definitely something that could. You can't really test that out until you get out there. That's definitely an interesting game, something to keep an eye on. I'm trying to see if we have any questions in the chat about that. Doesn't look like it.
Hey, what do you think, bud? You got anything on this game?
No, I don't. Yeah, just you couldn't pay me to back Andy Dalton here, but I have no interest in laying more than a touchdown with Kyler coming back after a long absence.
I am a little concerned with Kyler.
I think is there weather here as well? I think there might be
in Chicago.
This total has come crashing down, and what's fun if it was neutral game, if it was no weather, and if Kyler had
we got 90% chance of precipitation. We do have some weather.
I mean, the total was like 46, 40, maybe even 46 and a half when it first opened.
Wind too. Some wind gusts coming in. It's going to be cold.
Arizona can run it a little bit too. They can run it, and they've proven that they can run it a little bit. They've run it, I think, relatively better than most people think.
Yeah.
And
I mean, James Conner's been great for them.
Yeah, Conner's been great, and I think they're going to do some design runs with Kyler to get his legs back in the game. I mean, I wouldn't lay it either, but I think it's a safe teaser leg. I think Arizona's going to win this game.
All right, let's move on to Colts at Texans. This is a big number. Colts 10-point favorites, and we all know how double-digit dogs have been doing this year. 44.5 is the total. Which side are you guys on for this one?
This is another tough one, but this is a good teaser leg. I got it earlier in the week when it was 8.5 down to 2.5. I like it obviously a lot less from 9.5 to 3.5 because you're not getting it through that key number of 3. But I mean, the Texans just got gashed for like 160 rushing yards by the Jets. And now the Colts are coming off of a tough loss where they probably maybe not should have won, but they were ahead in that game. I would be shocked if the Colts don't win this game. So if you can figure out a way to get this to under a field goal, probably going to be tough to do now. But I still would feel safe. Not my favorite teaser leg of the week, but I would feel safe moving it down to 3 or 3.5 because I do think the Colts are going to win this game. I do.
Hey, you got anything on this one?
There's a prop that I like. Again, I'm staying away from the side of total here. I do like the over on Brandon Cooks. I mean,
that's one I wouldn't hear much.
A bunch of reasons. I mean, first off, games in a dome. Obviously, Colts are 10-point favorites. Means the Texans are projected to be passing the ball a lot. Obviously, the matchup's favorable. I mean, the Colts, it's nearly impossible to run on them. DeForest Buckner, they've got a lot of big bodies, but you can throw on the Colts for sure. You can beat them over the top. They've had a bunch of injuries in the secondary this year, a ton. And Cooks, the first time these teams played, he had 9 catches for 89. By the way, the over is 55.5. The over is 55.5 on Cooks. And he had 9 catches for 89 yards when these teams first played. And that was with Davis Mills at quarterback. I think Cooks, the whole Texans offense has really slowed down here. Obviously, they went to Mills, and now Tyrod hasn't been great since he came back. I mean, Cooks started the season absolutely on fire. He had 132 yards in the opener. He had 78 yards the next week, 112 yards in the week after that. And he's still at 89, like I said, in that Colts game, even with Mills. And at home, in the dome, in a game they should be passing a ton against the secondary, that's pretty exploitable. I think over 55 on Cooks makes a lot of sense.
I like it.
Question for both of you guys here. Jonathan Taylor now tied with Cooper Kupp for the best odds to win Offensive Player of the Year at plus 225. Do you like those odds right now? Seem like good odds for a guy who, I mean, he just came off a really, really big month. I
like Taylor a lot. I mean, he has what, like 100 games in a row with a touchdown or some kind of crazy stat.
And it's like, hey, what do people remember most? It's recency bias. Everyone remember, Rams are going like this. Colts are kind of going like this. If one finishes the season strong, it's going to give them a huge edge.
I do. I'm worried about Stafford. And that was always the concern with them going into the year was just how healthy he can be. Listen, what matters in December and January? Can you run the ball? And granted, the Colts playing the AFC South, so they're not going to be playing. I don't know what their schedule is off the top of my head. I don't know how many cold weather games. Let's pull up their schedule and see what kind of cold weather games are going to be playing in down the stretch. Probably not that many. Yeah, none actually. There actually none. So there will be no cold weather games for the Colts down the stretch. At Texans today, Pats at home, at Cardinals in a dome, versus Raiders at home in a dome, at Jaguars in Florida. So the cold weather factor won't matter, but I still think they're a run first team, and he's their
Yeah.
guy.
I also leaned to the over in this spot. I don't bet it, but I leaned to the over in this game for sure. And the Colts are just an over team in general. I mean, they really have been. I think people are sleeping on how good this. I think over the past, I forget X many weeks, past handful of weeks, Colts are averaging like 34 a game.
I think people are just fading Carson Wentz. I don't think people are believing in Carson Wentz and maybe what he's done. But the fact is, like, I mean, he's got Jonathan Taylor. It's just one of those things where it takes a lot of pressure off of him. And I mean, he can exploit. I think we saw it a little bit against Tampa. They had weak secondary. He was able to do some things, have some success against that secondary. But especially when they kind of took Jonathan Taylor out of the game.
Yeah, I think people are disrespecting Wentz.
Listen, Wentz is probably going to have a game at some point down the stretch that'll remind you of Wentz. I think sure. Every quarterback this year has had one of those games. Wentz just happens to do it.
Wentz just happens to do it like
jaw-dropping
every
fashion.
2 or 3 games.
Yeah. I don't trust the Colts as like a playoff contender because I just don't think that they're dynamic enough offensively. But they're going to make life tough for a lot of teams that don't stop the run down the stretch.
Also, I love how I said take Jonathan Taylor out of the game. 16 carries, 83 yards. Take him out of the game, averaging over 5 yards a touch. Take him out of the game.
He's having the best year of any running back, that's for sure. Because Henry's out. I would have said Henry, but Henry's done.
All right, this is a game I think we can talk about for a little bit. This is one that I'm on. Steelers, Ravens, Steelers, home dogs, catching 4 points, totals 44. This is always, always, always a close game. So I'm going to pocket the 4 points. It was 4.5 points, but I think that number might have moved a little bit in my favor because of the TJ Watt news. You guys can tell me if I'm crazy for thinking that, with him, being cleared to play, obviously that's a big boost for that defense. But I'm going to pocket the 4 points. Big Ben, how often has he been a dog at home in his career? I mean, it can't be too many times you're catching. Can't be too many times you're catching 4 points in Pittsburgh with Big Ben. They're coming off probably their worst performance of the year offensively. I mean, I don't think it can get any worse than last year. But I mean, the Ravens, even though they won, it wasn't pretty. Lamar Jackson threw 4 interceptions against the Browns, still somehow managed to win here. But I think the TJ Watt news is big. The Ravens, all their corners right now questionable to play, dealing with an illness. Not sure what's going on there. So we'll talk a little bit more about that later with my play of the day here. But Ravens offense and the Steelers defense have really struggled over the last month. So what do you think is going to be the edge in this game? What do you think is going to be the difference?
Go ahead, AO. I'm looking at what did you want? Home dog for Big Ben? Is that what you want?
Home dog for Big Ben. Home dog for Big Ben.
AO, do your thing. By the time AO's done, I'll have that stat for you.
Yeah, I like the Steelers as well here. I took 4.5 a few days ago. I mean, it called me crazy. The last time I was on this show was right before Chargers Steelers Sunday Night Football. The Steelers were 5-3-1. I said I thought the Steelers were one of the worst teams in the league at 5-3-1. I caught some heat for that. Got a guy tweeting at me. I responded to a link to the show saying, "What are you talking about? Steelers one of the worst teams in the league. Look at me now." I don't think most people would object to that. And all that I say that to say I like the Steelers this week because I mean. It's like I think this is actually a valuable lesson in NFL handicapping. You don't have to like the team to like the spot and to like the number. Like I was low on the Steelers, sell Steelers. At a certain point, though, the price just gets a little bit insane. This line opened 2.5. It was Ravens 2.5 minus 120, crossed to 3.5, 4. I got 4.5. The Steelers were a shorter underdog last week on the road against the Bengals. Just last week. Has that much changed in the handicap from last week? I don't think anything ever changes that much in 1 week, no matter how badly a team loses. And the Steelers obviously did lose pretty badly to the Bengals. But I think it's an overreaction. I think this is a situation where there's just value in the number, you just have to take it long term. If you just keep picking off overreactive lines like this, it's a decent strategy. You don't have to love the Steelers.
And Ravens Steelers, it always seems to be within a field goal, right? Like it's just no matter how good one side is, it's always a field goal game. It feels like. So you're getting more than that, obviously, with the 4.5 points, depending on when you got it. Jared, you got that stat for us? What are we
Of course, I got the stat for it. This is what we do.
Okay.
So, Big Ben, since 2004, which was his rookie year, coming into the league as a home underdog, 8-2 against the spread, 8-2 on the money line. There you go.
I love it.
It's the last stand, man. It's the last stand. Come on.
I love it. He's on the retirement tour now too. I mean, it seems.
Yeah,
like,
that's true. Actually, I'll be honest. That factors in for me. That it really does, because now it's like definitive. All right, you've got 5 games
for
left.
3 years. He's been on the
I know, but
it
was never announced. He never announced it until now, and it. I don't know. It might be a negative, but it definitely will play a factor at some point.
It's like I hate to make it about the emotional speculation, but it's like the narrative also. Like I said why I liked the number, but I mean the emotional narrative too. I mean, Steelers are coming off a couple of really, really bad games. This really seems like an all-in kind of effort. It's at home against division rival, and the Ravens. Like, the way you punish the Steelers right now is their run defense is like smash mouth punching them in the face, which you wouldn't have thought of Steelers teams. But the Ravens' run game, I'm not really scared. You want to hand the ball off to Latavius Murray? Please go ahead. The Ravens' run game isn't what it used to be. It's not really anything to be afraid of. I think the Steelers can keep it close. The Ravens' defense is being severely overrated, I think, too.
Yep. All right. Well, speaking of all-in games, kitchen sink type games, we got Niners at Seahawks. Seahawks getting 3 points at home. Total is 45. The Seahawks they didn't let me down because I was on the Washington football team, but the Seahawks have let a lot of people down. I think Russell Wilson's injuries had a lot to do with that, but it kind of feels like this is this an all-in game for them? I saw NFL Network tweet something out about, they're talking about they're in win now mode, and one of my friends was responding, win now? Aren't they 3-8? Like, what are we talking win now? So what do you guys think when you're looking at this game? Because I just think this Niners team is just way better than the Seahawks. No need to even overthink this one. 3 points, short number.
Ayo, you want to go first, or you want me to go first?
Yeah, well, I'll go first. All that to say, I like the Seahawks. I like the Seahawks 3.5. I took that a couple of days ago, or early in the week. It just came down to 3. Like this morning, it had been hovering around like 3.5 minus 120. So a little bit of a different handicap at 3, but it's funny how similar of a spot this is to the Steelers-Ravens game. It's like the circumstances are almost identical. You have a home dog in a division rivalry game coming off a couple of really ugly performances, and it was a last stand for not just the team, for the era. This is kind of like the last stand of the Russell Wilson Seahawks era. Just like that's the last stand of the Big Ben Steelers era against a bitter rival at home, catching more points than you would have if this game had been played just a couple of weeks ago. So I think it's funny how similar a spot it is, and I like the dog in both cases. Again, I've been low on the Seahawks so long. It feels weird to be backing the Seahawks and explaining why I like them. But, what do the 49ers want to do? They want to run the ball, obviously. That's the engine of their offense. Seahawks' run defense is quietly pretty damn good. Seahawks defense as a whole has quietly been pretty damn good. No one's been talking about it, and understandably so, because Russ and the offense have been so bad. Like, the Seahawks defense has been pretty consistently, not elite, but pretty consistently good for a while now. Russ, I think, Jared, as we alluded to, we talked a little bit earlier, I think Russ clearly hasn't been 100% healthy since he came back from the finger, but that's the type of thing that I think should only continue to get better. I think it was originally, his doctors said it was like a 6 to 8 week injury, and he came back in 4 weeks or something. I think now will have been exactly 8 weeks. So I think he's someone who could trend upward here in the home stretch. And I'm just skeptical of the 49ers too. They beat the Rams team that is clearly spiraling out of control right now. Then they beat the Jags, who were the Jags. And then this past week, they took care of business against the Vikings, who the Vikings can't stop shooting themselves. And, you got Kirk Cousins lining up under a guard on 4th and goal. I don't think Russ is going to do that at home. That was the best, man. I love Kirk so much.
Sometimes you just forget which guy to get.
Kirk a little bit of that was like a fire drill at the end of the play clock, and it was like a scramble situation. But that was so funny.
People get mad at Kirk. I hate him. How can you not love this guy, man? It was great. Yeah. But so I don't think the 49ers win streak is quite as impressive as some people are giving it credit for. I think Deebo Samuel being out here is massive. He's kind of been one of, obviously, George Kittle coming back, but also Samuel coming back was kind of one of the main engines of this offensive turnaround that the 49ers have had. And now going on the road into Seattle, it's still one of the tougher crowd environments to play in. Catching more than a field goal, I thought was just too good to pass up.
There's definitely not a lot of home field advantages left in the NFL. Seattle is on the list. This is definitely the line in the sand. But I'll be honest though, they're 3-8, right? Like they're done even if they win this game.
Still
like,
playing for pride. Still rivalry
they definitely are playing for pride. They are not in the playoff race. They are 3-8. Even if they win out, they will be 9-8, and I don't think that's going to get them in. But that being said, you make a good point about Debo. The Debo thing is a wild card. I think Elijah Mitchell will be serviceable, but Debo offers a little more of a dynamic, kind of threat that it worries me a little bit. But I still trust the play calling. I think Kyle Shanahan has not gotten enough credit for the coaching job he's done this year. They took a lot of heat for that draft pick, Trey Lance, and I think it was the wrong pick, but I think they've made the best of it, and they could have easily just tucked it away. They were 3-6, I think, somewhere in that range, and they've won 4 in a row now. Or no, sorry, they were 3-5. No, 2-5. They were 2-5. They were 2-4, 3-4. Yeah, they were 3-5, and they've now won 3 in a row to get back over 500. So they've really turned around their season. Sorry, I was totally off with the numbers there. I do think if you're only laying 3, I'm worried about Russell's finger. And until Russell shows me that he's healthy, I can't back them. Because if he's not healthy, the ball's going to get thrown to the moon again like it was on Monday night.
Fun question before we move on here, because we got questions in the chat. Do the Seahawks have a running back? Adrian Peterson, plus 180, anytime touchdown. Who says no? No. Oh, Jared says no.
I say no.
Jared, who says no?
I mean,
Jared
what have we seen from Adrian Peterson that makes you think he's going to score a touchdown today?
We see that he gets signed to teams and just scores a touchdown.
This is his third team of the year, right?
But he scored he scored a touchdown. I think he scored.
He scored with Tennessee.
Yeah.
Okay. I wasn't paying that close attention.
I think that's what you gotta be tapped into.
I think the Niners defense has been playing a lot better. They're up to 10th in DVOA. I do think San Francisco is the tougher team in the trenches. I would be shocked if Seattle runs it down the Niners' throats, and if they stop the Niners from running it down their throats. That would surprise me today if that happened.
All right, I oversold. He has 1 touchdown this year. Oversold. I oversold.
I would not bet an Adrian Peterson prop today. I have no idea.
Yeah, I'm not running to bet it.
I would know. I have no idea.
All right, now
don't get me wrong. He could catch lightning in a bottle.
And you never know with Pete Carroll. Pete Carroll's probably. I think this is a good lesson too. If you don't follow Pete Carroll's press conferences too closely, he is one of all the coaches in the league who practice this coach speak out of talking out of both sides of their mouth. Pete Carroll might be the guy who likes to mislead the media the most, and you just have no. And I like it. It's if I was the coach of a team, I'd probably do the same thing. Pete Carroll will say "Oh yeah, this guy's day to day. He's out for the season with the worst case, the worst shredded knee you've ever seen." Pete Carroll was talking like they're going to use a guy, talk up a guy all week, and then he'll be a healthy
feature back this week. It
wouldn't shock me if he gets 2 carries. It wouldn't shock me if he gets 25 carries.
Totally
the Seahawks play things very close to the best.
I feel the same way about Bill Belichick. That's why I don't bet Patriots props mostly. I rarely will ever bet a Patriots prop because I have no feel for their game plan whatsoever.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to the Sunday night game. Broncos at Kansas City. Big line movement in this one, actually, since the show started here. Denver only catching 8.5 points now, according to FanDuel. Total 46.5. That line was, I think that was 10.5 earlier in the week. We saw 9.5 when we were talking before the show. Now 8.5. How are you guys feeling about this one?
8 at DraftKings. I love the Chiefs here. Public dog, Sunday night. This is they moved it, right? This is the Sunday night game, right?
Yeah, they flexed it.
Yeah.
They should have flexed Bengals Chargers, but whatever.
I don't know. I've been high on the Chiefs. So I bought in on the Chiefs once they dipped to 16-1 in the futures market after that Titans disaster. And we've been very fortunate that they've been very strong since. The movement has been really great for us, and I feel great about that position. But, man, is there a team that you trust? In terms of the AFC, if you had to say you can only pick one team to trust right now, winner take all game, do or die, end of the rainbow, I'm taking Kansas City today. Maybe that changes in a few weeks. But today I'm taking Kansas City. So I just trust the Chiefs. I know the trends with Teddy Bridgewater. I don't really care. Andy Reid's plenty good off the bye too. I just think the Chiefs are my team today in the AFC. That's
Broncos
kind of
defense has been pretty good this season as well, quietly. Especially when you consider, they moved on from Von Miller and it seemed like they were kind of in sell mode. They've been pretty good. I think the difference in this game is going to be that Chiefs defense. I mean, everyone's talking about the Chiefs offense, but that Chiefs defense is, are they the most improved unit, you think?
Yeah,
100%.
I mean,
they were 32nd in DVOA, and now they're not. So yes,
right.
And they were brutal in net yards per play, and now they're much better.
Okay, so I mean, I definitely agree with you with backing the Chiefs. What do you think, AO?
Yeah, I mean, I think the Chiefs now make a decent teaser leg too. Now that you would go through the 3.5, if they were 9 or 2, now you can get through the 3 on a 6-point teaser. Yeah, I mean, I'm certainly not. It's like at 9.5, 10 on the spread, I would lean Broncos. Didn't bet it personally, but I'm hesitant to bet against Andy Reid coming off the bye and the Chiefs improving. The Chiefs teaser leg, but the play actually that I like in this game is the under. That's the more significant line movement has been on the under here.
Yes.
Not lying. Follow me on Twitter. Tweeted it out 49 right at the beginning of the week. It's comes ticking down steadily. It was at 47.5 then most of the week. I still liked it at 47.5. Now at 46.5. It's like, man, it's getting pretty low. But I'll just say everyone can make their own determination of what price point they want to enter. I'll just talk about why I like the under in this spot. I mean, like you guys alluded to, Chiefs defense has been rapidly improving. I think this would shock people. They've given up 17 points or fewer in 4 straight games. I mean, they just shut down Dak Prescott most recently. And they've done it against a decent competition too. But the Chiefs offense themselves, they've been failed to the top 20 points in 4 of their past 5 games. And I mean, last time Chiefs hosted a primetime game was that one against the Giants, which was a snooze fest, sleepy, under as could be. We talked about which home field advantages still matter. Arrowhead at night is probably one of the only ones that still matter. So I really don't see Teddy Bridgewater storming into Arrowhead on the road in prime time and putting up very good numbers. The Broncos' recent success, I think, has been in despite of Teddy rather than because of him. It's been because the Broncos' defense is playing a lot better. I mean, the Chiefs just shut down Dak Prescott. The Broncos just shut down Dak Prescott 3 weeks ago as well. The Broncos on their recent win streak, they dominated Dak Prescott. They dominated Justin Herbert for the most part last week. Bradley Chubb is back. That's huge for the defense. And the way the teams who have been beating the Broncos have been punishing the Broncos is on the ground. The Broncos linebacking core has been decimated. I think the Broncos had at one point 2 weeks ago, there was one starter in their front 7 who was actually their starter at the beginning of the year. They're finally starting to get a few bodies back. But the way to punish Denver offensively is running right at them, is attacking those linebackers. We've seen some teams go crazy, Eagles, Browns, etc., running all over the Broncos. Well, the Chiefs don't really, they're going to get Clyde Edwards-Helaire or whatever. They don't have really much of a run game to be afraid of. The Broncos' supposed strength on paper is their secondary, so I don't think the Chiefs are going to light it up here. The Chiefs, the only game, and again, I agree with you, Jared, if I had to take one team in the AFC right now, it would still be the Chiefs. That being said, the Chiefs have had one great offensive game recently. It was the game against the Raiders, which we talked about on the show. The Raiders are really stubborn. Their defensive coordinator, Gus Bradley, refuses to run anything that's not single high cover 3, which is what the Chiefs love to exploit, but everybody else is doing that too high, and Vic Fangio's not going to do what Gus Bradley did. So I don't think the Chiefs are going to explode offensively here either. So those were a lot, and the Broncos are certainly going to be trying to run the ball as much as possible.
We got a question in the chat.
Low variance.
That's big.
We got a question in the chat here. Kelsey yards over, do you guys think? 72.5 is the number I'm looking at right now.
I would never go under with Kelsey, either over or no play. I mean, he's just.
I do think Kelsey's kind of washed, but the Broncos linebackers are also a weakness of the team. So,
okay.
If you like Kelsey, this is a decent week
for a 3-team money line parlay. Tell me which leg loses: Vikings, Chiefs, Colts. It's basically even money right now on DraftKings. Which of those 3 teams loses today? Vikings, Chiefs, Colts.
I don't think it's the Vikings. I think it would be either the Chiefs or the Colts even.
The Colts are not losing to the Texans. That is not happening. I feel very strongly about that.
You never know.
I mean, if you're asking me, I think it'd be the Chiefs, right? Division game. I mean, road, but just, the familiarity of playing in your division. And I think the way that Teddy and the Broncos have been playing, especially coming off that big win last week, and their defense, like you said, AO, with the secondary being the strong point and Chiefs not having much of a run game, I could see that game being a lot closer than maybe people think. I like what you're saying. Throw that in the teaser leg now. I think right now we're seeing
Love
some
that
people are
as a
saying it's
teaser
down.
leg.
Some people are saying it's down to 8 now at some spots.
It is.
It is
At
down there, yeah.
DraftKings, it's down to 8.
Yeah,
I
so
love.
I think
If I were gonna add, my teaser of the week, we gave it out earlier, Arizona and Indy. If I was gonna add a teaser today, which I might, Minnesota and Kansas City. Minnesota to 1, Kansas City to 2. That's a good. I think that's a really good teaser.
I think I'm definitely gonna add that one. But if you're asking me which team's gonna lose, I think it could be the Chiefs. If you're asking me,
I
do I think any of
would
this could
say
happen? I would
Colts.
say no.
I would say Colts, even though the Colts are the biggest favorite of those three. I don't know.
Okay.
I think the Colts have
How
one
are
of
the
the lowest.
Texans going to win that game?
Colts
They
have a
could
low
beat the
floor.
Jets at home last week.
Colts have a low floor because, again, don't get me wrong. I think the Colts are going to win this game. I'm just saying I see a scenario where they could, with Wentz, and I just was singing Wentz's praises, saying he's not getting enough respect, but he does have a low floor. You could easily get a left-handed pass kind of Wentz game where he spots the Texans 14 points and.
You're
Texans offense looked good earlier in the year.
Could happen.
First 2 weeks, Texans offense looked good.
The Jets beat them last week and ran for 160 yards. I would be shocked if Jonathan Taylor has less than 120 yards rushing.
That's true. For sure.
All right, Jared, let's finish things off. We're on the opposite sides of this game, the Monday night game, Patriots at Bills. The Patriots, I loved it at 3 points. They're catching 2.5 points now, a total 40.5. I'll let you start. You're on the Bills. Okay. Talk to me.
Yeah, so I think now when I was looking at the splits this morning, it's not as heavy of a New England public dog as it was a little earlier in the week. So we're starting to see some money come back in on Buffalo here. The argument against Buffalo is their wins against the Jets and some of these other teams, the Saints, haven't been really that good. But when I looked at the strength of schedule, both the Patriots and the Bills have 2 out of the 3 worst strength of schedules this year. So the same can be said about the Patriots wins, that they have not been overly impressive. They have been blowing out bad teams like the Jets and the Falcons. The one close game they played recently was against the Chargers. They blew out the Titans without all of their weapons. So I just don't know if there's a lot separating these teams. And I think the difference for me here is Mac Jones, his first trip to what now we are seeing is going to be a relatively bad weather game in Buffalo. I know he's handled himself really well. Take nothing away for how good Mac Jones has looked. But if you were going to ask me less than a field goal, which is basically a toss-up, who's going to win the game, Josh Allen at home in prime time or Mac Jones as a rookie making his first trip to Buffalo, the Bills have better players on offense. It's not even close. And I think if you were going to say, can Bill Belichick scheme his way to a win? Sure, absolutely that could happen. But if I had to bet this game and it's basically an even money pick 'em under a field goal now, I am taking the Bills at home to win this game. I think they're a little undervalued, and I think their best is better than the Patriots' best.
Yeah, I think I'm going to sit out this one at 2.5. I loved it, like I said, at 3. I'm going to see kind of what things what happens overnight and kind of how things develop, tomorrow. But Ayo, I'm going to ask you, with weather expected to be a factor in this one, we're talking wind, maybe a little precipitation here. These are 2 defensive-minded teams. Everyone talks about Josh Allen and the Bills' offense. That Bills' defense has been pretty good this year as well. One of the best defenses probably in the NFL. With a total so low, do you think that's the play? It was 41.5, now 40.5. Is that too low?
Yeah, I suspect it might be, and that's funny because I'm on the under here. Again, follow me on Twitter, Drew Knows _. I took under 45 in this game on Sunday. It's now 40.5. And I think this is another good teaching point because somebody asked last time I was on the show in the chat, they were like, when do you like to bet games early? When do you think it's better to wait up until kickoff? I think this is a perfect example of one. If there's something where there's a wild card, but it only can work in one direction and it can only kind of help your handicap, then it makes sense to bet it early in the week. Because I liked the under in this game. Like I was circling this spot like a couple weeks ago. I think it was going to be 46.5. But I took 45 because I liked the under in the game regardless, because I liked the matchup, even if there was no weather. But it was like the potential of weather was like the cherry on top. It was like, okay, I like this under, so I'm going to move now because the addition of weather can only bring this total down. It wasn't going to go up. It wasn't going to go up. So it made perfect sense. That was exactly the kind of spot that you'd want to target. And knowing a week out, you look at the forecast, okay, it's still a week out, but there's the potential. It's Buffalo. There's no potential for some weather. That can only cut one direction. There's no weather that makes the total go up. So the addition of weather could only have worked in my favor. So I thought it made sense to bet the total Sunday night. I didn't think it was going to come crashing down this far. So now I'm sitting at 45 thinking maybe I should try and middle this because I do think it's gone a bit far. It's 40.5 at FanDuel. I think that is an overreaction because the Patriots offense, their offense isn't really the type. They're not a downfield passing attack anyways. They're not really, and the way to beat the Bills on defense is to run right at the Bills. Look at what the Colts did to them. The Colts kind of carved up the Bills by running at them. So I think the Patriots could potentially have some similar success. So I think 40.5 might be too low. And the weather can change up until kickoff. That could always swing back. So I might try and middle this and go over it. I would not be betting the under this low for sure.
We got a comment in the chat here. We got to address here. Josh Allen, hugely overrated. What are we talking about? What are we talking about here?
Who said that?
What are we talking about?
Hey,
Cass 1407. Cass, what teams have you been watching that are like quarterbacks are underrated then? Like if Josh Allen's overrated, who is underrated? Goodness gracious. The dude's the second favorite.
Hold on. AO's like, hold on. AO might be agreeing with them.
I'll defend.
Josh Allen's overrated? Who's underrated then, AO?
Taylor Heineke's been playing better than he's getting credit for.
Come on. Taylor Heineke against Josh Allen? You're taking Taylor Heineke?
No. You said who's underrated. I'm not saying Josh Allen's overrated. I'm saying I don't think he's as good as he was last year. It's an interesting Josh Allen stat. 3 of his past 5 games.
Ball. That's the problem.
I didn't run the ball last year either.
They ran it a little bit with Montgomery last year, more than this year for sure. Zach Moss has been bad.
Zach Moss hasn't.
He's average. Josh Allen.
Man, let's just leave it at this. If you were going to redo that draft from a couple years ago, Josh Allen's not getting taken 8th or 9th. He's a top 3 pick, no doubt.
Oh, for sure. That being said, to my guy in the chat here, I just have a Josh Allen stat that I want to throw out because I've been using this a few times recently. Josh Allen, 3 of his past 5 games has averaged 6.0 yards per attempt or fewer. Only did that 3 times all of last season. He's done it 3 times very recently. The only 2 guys he didn't do it recently was against the.
But when they
Jets
turn it on, they are really good still. Like they have the ability with him because he has legs that other quarterbacks don't have.
Sure.
Like so, I think so. The Bills, the numbers have said the Bills have been one of the highest variance teams in NFL history. Meaning when they are at their best, they are the best team in the NFL. When they are at their worst, they're one of the worst teams. And usually good teams, the floor is higher. For some reason, Josh Allen's floor is lower. But I don't think that's fair to say underrated. I think maybe inconsistent is fair. That's a fair adjective. Underrated. When he is at his best, he is the MVP of this league. Period. End of story. Him and Kyler Murray are the 2 guys that I would put in that category. But we haven't seen the best yet. Inconsistent is the adjective that I would say that's fair this year. Not underrated.
Last question from the chat before we move on to our plays of the day here. Do you guys think Bengals-Chargers game goes over the total 49.5 right now? What do you guys have a feel for that one?
Hey, you're the totals guy. I've been shitty with totals this year.
I would lean. I didn't bet it. I would lean to the over. I know the over took some respected money for sure. I know that was one of the people in sharp circles were gravitating towards. It scares me just because I think the Bengals are going to try and run the ball a lot here. The passing game hasn't actually been that great the past couple of weeks, and they play at a slow pace. And the Chargers offense, you never know what you're going to get. But I would lean over.
I just locked in that teaser, by the way, because I put out a teaser every week in my column. I just added Vikings and Chiefs as a teaser. So
all right, well, let's get to
you guys get it first. I'm gonna tweet it out later. But you guys that are watching the show
get it.
You're welcome.
There we go. A man of the people.
Man of the people.
All right, let's move on to our Pickswise plays of the day. Jared, before we get into our personal plays, is there a 3-star play on the website that is not from AO that we like?
There is. Our buddy Wilsh, actually, across the pond, if he's watching. Hey, what's up, Wilsh? Dolphins lane 4 is the play. That line's obviously moved. You can get 6 now. I still would lay it under a field goal because I don't really trust Mike Glennon, excuse me. Also, the Oilers today on the money line and the under in the Flames Golden Knights game. Connor Grutenhuis on that under in Flames Knights, and Chadwick Wetzel's on the Oilers laying a pretty big penny, 85 cents against the Kings. Maybe you want to play the regulation there. But those are the 3-star plays of the day, not involving Mega O, because he's got 2 of them on the site too. So check those out as well.
He's got a lot that he likes.
Got a lot to chew on today.
All right, give us a play. Give us one of your plays for the day. What's your play?
Oh, it's the under in this Washington Raiders game. This had one of the highest totals on the board early in the week. This one made no sense to me. I thought it was going to it's ticked down finally. I thought it would even tick down faster and more than it did. It was 49.5 a lot of the week, now 48. Everyone's acting like, everyone's been hard on this Washington defense, I think, too hard. Everyone was trashing them early in the year, which was understandable because they weren't playing very well, but man, they had a tough road. This is interesting. Washington has faced all four teams from last year's championship games. They've played the
Wow.
Bucks. They played the Bucks, the Packers, the Bills, and the Chiefs. Arguably the four best offenses in the league. I don't think anybody else can say that. I think they're the only team because they got shafted because they got their cross conference. The extra game added. There happened to be against the Bills. Like Washington faced a ridiculously tough schedule early on. I think that's why their defense was playing poorly, and now the defense has been really trending up. They dominated Russ Wilson, obviously, last week. They held Tom Brady mostly in check just a couple of weeks before. As much as a Taylor Heineke guy as I am, it's not like this Washington offense has that high of a ceiling. J.D. McKissick's out for Washington. That's quietly a big loss for their offense. People don't give him enough credit. He is a huge part of their passing game. He is out. I think that's going to be actually notable here. The Raiders, their offense, look, I think, again, people are overrating this Raiders offense because of what they saw on Thanksgiving, claiming out had a great game against the Cowboys. That being said, the offense has been on a steep decline overall since their bye week. In their 3 games prior to Thanksgiving, the Raiders did not top 16 points once. So I'm not overreacting to one decent game against Dallas. Now placing it in a surging Washington defense. What's the main weakness of this Raiders team? The interior of their offensive line. What's one of the strengths of this Washington team? The interior of their defensive line with Jonathan Allen. Obviously, then bearing the lead, Darren Waller's out for the Raiders. This is a Raiders team that was already very light on weapons. Darren Waller was like the one great weapon they had left. Now he's out. So I think there's a lot of things working in the favor of the under here. And I think that the Washington is going to, they gave Antonio Gibson, I think, had 36 touches last week, 29 carries and 7 catches. I think they're going to keep things heavy with Antonio Gibson again here, and it's going to be pretty low scoring, just like Washington's most recent game was on Monday Night Football.
Love it, love it, love it, love it. Jared, what you got?
I'll answer one question first. Big upset shocker of the weekend. Don't be surprised if the Jags keep things close against the Rams. I do not trust this Rams team right now. And I don't know how they're laying 13 against anybody. They can't stop a lick. And the Rams they're just they're like a dysfunctional family. So I wouldn't be shocked if that game is close. Best bet. So we kind of gave this out earlier. I had trouble picking a best bet today. If you want my best bet of the entire NFL card all week, it's the Bills laying 2.5. But that's tomorrow. We'll do that. We'll deal with that on tomorrow's Let's Bet It show. For today, I would say my best bet today would be the Niners. And you can get it at 3 now. So there's no excuses to, lay the hook. You can definitely get this at 3. And until Russell Wilson shows me that he is fully healthy, I don't think you can go anywhere near this Seahawks team. And we'll see. I know AO's on the other side. Maybe it's a close game. Maybe it lands on 3 and we push and AO wins. But I have a feeling that San Francisco has figured it out. And I'm going to trust the hot hand. They've looked great on play action. They're running the ball. I know no Debo today, but they've still got Elijah Mitchell, and they've got a ton of other weapons. Juszczyk is healthy. Kittle is healthy. Ayuk maybe steps to the forefront today. The defense is playing a lot better in recent weeks. And I just think San Francisco goes to their rival, and it's not going to be a letdown spot. You can't call it a letdown when you're facing your rival on the road. And I have a feeling that they're going to lay the hammer down again on a Seattle team that's teetering. They are teetering on the edge, and a knockout blow by the Niners today just totally puts them into orbit.
All right. Well, I'm going back to that Ravens-Steelers game. I'm going to actually get a prop. I love Deontay Johnson over 75.5 yards today. Big Ben's cooked, right? Big Ben's bad, right? We all saw him play his worst game of probably his career last week, right? He's done. Ravens have 5 corners questionable for today's game. Marlon Humphrey, Tavon Young didn't practice all week, dealing with an illness. Jimmy Smith, questionable. 5 corners out, or potentially questionable for the game. I think that is huge, and a guy like Deontay Johnson is just someone that you don't want to mess with if you're not at full strength. So Marlon Humphrey didn't go all week, dealing with an illness. Tavon Young didn't go all week, dealing with an illness. That secondary already iffy. The Ravens, I think, have the worst pass defense in the league right now. So I like Deontay Johnson to have a big game today. So that's my play.
I mean, listen, Pittsburgh's going to show some pride. They're a prideful prideful franchise.
And he's
they've
going over
gotten
that
blown out
number
2 weeks in a row.
3 straight games.
Pittsburgh. I did. Jack's been. I think he's been out of town this weekend, but he loves the 10-point teasers. I locked in a 10-point teaser in honor of Jack. Lions catching 17, which I don't feel great about now, to be honest with you. Actually, no. Sorry, no. That's the wrong one. Sorry. Jags catching 23, Colts on a pick'em, and Washington catching 11.5. That is my 10-point Jack Harrison teaser of the week. I'm doing one every week just for him now because he says.
What does a 3-team 10-point teaser pay out at?
I was gonna say
it's the same as a 6-pointer, 2-teamer, -120. So
Really?
I'll do it one more time for you guys. 10-point Jack Harrison special dog teaser of the week. Kind of not all dogs. One of them's a favorite. Jags catching 23, Colts pick'em, Washington 11.5. We'll see how we do.
All right. Any final thoughts before we wrap this thing, boys?
Good luck today.
Good luck to everybody.
Good luck. Buckle up.
Another
AO's ready
another
for a
NFL
nap.
Sunday.
It's early for him
Yeah.
out in
AO's ready to
Vegas.
take a nap before these.
I will tell you, when I got up to do the show, the sun wasn't even up here. So
Well, you
guys don't know how good how good you have it with these games.
AO, I can't play your mega parlay because you got the freaking Seahawks in there, and I'm not betting that today.
You're on the West Coast, AO? You're on the West Coast?
Yeah, I live in LA, Los Angeles.
Oh yeah, so it's a little early for you.
You guys don't know how good you have it with these 1 p.m. kicks, man.
It's true.
Yeah, but you get to enjoy your evening after the night game. So it's like while we're struggling to get up in the morning. So it's yeah. All right, well that'll do it for us today. Good luck with your bets tonight, and we'll be back tomorrow morning at 10 a.m.